Welcome to the weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Matt.
Hey, Matt. Chris is tied up at work, and Matt is kind enough to get on that TV. Although he's not fitting on this newer model we have. He's not fitting on
cramp in here.
Yeah. We got to come up with a permanent setting. I wanted something a little bit different. But this week on the weekly, BattleTech 40K, Kings of War, Kings of War Champions, StarCraft Wargame, and Monster Apocalypse. So this is a very Wargame heavy episode. And also the theme of this episode should be an answer to a question no one asked, or maybe a solution looking for a problem. Because a lot of these things kind of feel that way. It's like, okay, you could do that, I guess. So first, let's start with the thing that was blowing up the wargaming internet, and I can actually show you a little bit of that with the audio off. So we got this trailer on social media timed just before Adepticon is coming up, right? So there's going to be a crowdfunder this summer for this introductory box, I guess they're calling it. It's it's a one-off kind of themed thing. So the grimdark endless war of some situation is coming to BattleTech, and they dropped this with this trailer, with this like pretty heavily produced animated trailer showing kind of Gothic modified mechs killing abominations, so kind of kaiju hunting.
The first scene there with the kind of yellowish background is exactly the colors they use in Warhammer when they're doing Nurgle stuff.
Right. Yes, I think they're pretty blatantly kind of doing. Yeah, this is the the house of disease. This is the house of blood. Yeah. And so the thing that they're showing in the video that they're going to do is swappable heads. So you can take, I guess, existing models. Or you can take a model and configure it with whatever house you're doing. So yeah, the houses look like they're going to be very chaosy themed. Yep, summer. And so they're going to take this to crowdfunding, Catalyst Games Lab. And so this is kind of torn the internet up pretty bad. The the thing that you first kind of think is, oh, okay, so now they're going to take a swipe at Games Workshop. I mean, because this is obviously the 40K setting, and basically, I think the only war game that has a equivalent, depth of lore and the history, and it's been out since the 80s, 84, I think. BattleTech is long lived, but to create a themed box that's just a one-off swipe at this, it's like, oh, this is fun, you could play like this, is a little odd. If they're not going to go like completely into it, and they even admitted they don't have the resources to do that. Like if they wanted to split off, kind of do a grimdark BattleTech and then vanilla BattleTech, there's no way they could do that. They just don't have the ability, the finances, or the manpower. So they revealed this on Facebook, and they did provide a PDF with a 72-page lore dump of like what this setting is, like when this happens and what's going on. They did. We got a tweet, or I'm sorry, not a tweet. We got what do they call it on Blue Sky? On Blue Sky, we heard from Michael Stackpole.
Cloud, I don't know.
Michael Stackpole on Blue Sky said he's been tapped to write fiction for it, so they're kind of supporting it. Like if they're going to make him write a novel or novels, or at least maybe short stories. So the thing that this will introduce is kind of kaiju, or these like abominations, because it does look like giant monsters fighting mechs. But so far, and we don't know the details of the crowdfunder, there aren't going to be models for those. So I guess in the box set they'll be represented by cardboard standees or tokens. But yeah, the planet crushing, biosphere destroying weapons of mass destruction that I guess kind of works with the theme of the inner sphere. So they're going to include in a I guess what we saw in the video, or shots of the realm of the blood dragon and the realm of blazing light. So they're kind of talking about a few of the schools, and I think all of this is in that primer. I'll put a link to the primer, which is actually just their Google Drive. It's just the Catalyst Game Labs Google Drive. You can get this on. But yeah, so there's a role playing game, a war game. It's been video games. Like BattleTech has been all over the place. Yeah, I think Piranha Games, MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries is the most recent thing. They did a clans. They did I think a big Clan Wars crowdfunder. I forget what the most recent one was. Mercenaries, I guess. Yeah, Mercenaries was the most recent one. So 7.5. Yeah.
If Miguel was here, he'd tell you exactly what the order.
Right. Yeah, the $7.5 million Mercenaries crowdfunder. So the initial reaction by a lot of people was, wait a minute, this is really close to the end of March, beginning of April. Is this just an April Fool's joke? Because it looks silly. It looks ridiculous. So that they're not trying that hard, but I guess they are. They're writing the lore for it and everything. So the Catalyst booth at Adepticon is going to be pretty busy this weekend in Milwaukee because they're going to have to explain what's going on. And so basically they have just said that, yeah, this is a one-off themed box release, and it'll be kind of a starter set for playing in here. But they've already admitted they don't have the resources to make this its own line, so it's just going to be a little bit of a flavor. And like they showed in the video, the Atlas has interchangeable components. So a head, a back tabard, and base reliefs, or bas reliefs, are going to be changeable on the models to switch them to the 6 main factions of this setting. So it'll retain the core rules of BattleTech with some exciting new additions, for this aesthetic. No miniatures for the Abominations in the box set so far. I mean, that could be, if it's a huge crowdfunder, it could get unlocked. But I don't know. It seems like an odd step for them to even pretend. They should have kept things as separate as possible and said, yeah, we're not, kind of a DC Marvel thing, never the two shall meet. So this is kind of, it reminds me, the look of it and kind of how they released it reminds me of like a porn parody video. It's kind of reminiscent of the original thing, and it's Gothic, BattleTech Gothic does sound a little bit like a giant ship battle game. So it doesn't seem like good thinking. And there's already been some teases of, this isn't the first themed box. There's more to come. And
are they munchkining this?
Maybe. And I don't know if it's going to be like, I think it's just going to be their themes, not like, licensed IP, but their version of things.
Yeah.
But Miguel, speaking of Miguel sent me a little conversation between one of the Catalyst guys. I guess there was an interview or some messages. So Tussa K was asking Ray from Catalyst, so concerns about allocation of the limited resources, to actually make this, make this a thing. And Ray was saying that that was a stipulation for the product. We built a team from contributors that are not already assigned on other projects, and it did not interfere with the actual production schedules either. And so this is a one-off, and he said, yes, this is a one-off. So it's confirmed. The Continuum line, if we proceed, will be a series of one-offs, reimagining BattleTech in a series of different games, or genres or aesthetics. With 2 versions in early development: Rockets and RayGuns and Anime.
No.
Yeah, those both sound terrible. What they're going to do, like a 50s atomic age, and then they're going to do a neon covered, Gundam.
Gundam looking mechs, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that this does seem like a distraction, and I wonder. I mean, just like what Magic was doing by buying or licensing those IPs to do Lord of the Rings or Fallout or whatever, they are trying to maybe bring in some people that are put off by the kind of the old school look of BattleTech. Maybe, I don't know, but it doesn't seem like, it seems like a waste of resources, and it seems like it's not going to be taken seriously by any 40K players. They're going to kind of laugh at it, and only maybe some lapsed players. Some lapsed players may see it as an excuse to try the setting.
Maybe, but you're not gonna steal actual active 40K players because they're already mortgaging their houses on all their Warhammer crap.
Right.
Like they're not.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
games.
it feels like a trial balloon. Like it feels like
Mm.
we'll throw these out there, and if one of them is really big, then we'll follow up with some more stuff or something.
Right. Yeah, maybe they thought this was the strongest kind of genre, switch. But if they're going to do crowdfunding, that will, really show, because they already have a history of multi-million-dollar crowdfunding. So if this one is a dud, if this one is, doesn't just barely breaks the goal, then they'll know, that this was a little bit of a misstep. But so FASA had the original BattleTech, and I think it's like owned by Topps now, and so Catalyst is licensing it from Topps. So these aren't people that with great respect for any of this. they're just trying to figure out how to make money with it. But first BattleTech published as Battle Droids in 1984, and the Rogue Trader Warhammer 40K was September of 87. So yeah, they had a little bit of a head start with their setting and the game itself.
Yeah, because FASA, what's his name? Jordan Weissman got the licensed, a lot of the initial BattleTech mechs are civil defense mechs from Robotech and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever Robotech was called in Japan.
Macross, yeah, a lot of it was 3. Yeah, they stole from 3 anime, but
yeah. Like my favorite old BattleTech mech with the Marauder was just a civil defense mech on that show.
Yeah, back in the wild 80s when everyone was licensing any robot they could get their hands on. Yeah,
and you could tell on the early ones, the ones they just designed in house, because they just look like big clunky guys, like
right,
just robot men next to all these crazy, Marauders and Mad Cats and stuff that look awesome. Right. And then there's just this big clunky guy that looks like a 50s robot or something.
Yeah. So I don't know. If this is going to hurt, kind of their reputation for how they're treating this. And already, they've had some problems with their crowdfunding anyhow, getting stuff to people, and they piss some people off. So I'm not sure if playing around with the setting and just doing this alternative thing is what anybody wants. So again, a solution, looking for a problem.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, are they hoping that Amazon will go, hey, that looks cool too, because they're not gonna.
Right.
BattleTech doesn't have a Henry Cavill.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I mean, what the results, the verdict will be the crowdfunder this summer. But they're sure going to get a lot of attention at Adepticon though for pulling this kind of stunt like right before that. And I think that maybe that's all they want. Maybe they just want some new attention, some new eyes that maybe wouldn't have even looked at BattleTech to kind of say, "Hey, wait, what are they doing over there?" I don't know. But it's a bit silly. I'm not looking forward. If this is successful, I'm not looking forward to Rockets and RayGuns and anime BattleTech.
Rockets and RayGuns. So like a Rocketeer kind of Flash
kind
of vibe.
Yeah, sounds like it. Yeah, and they don't have the resources to do this, to like totally redesign, and they definitely can't I think that's why they're doing the head swap and the adding the pieces to models, because they can't do the total resculpts of everything.
Yeah, because I went through a BattleTech phase, and I think I owned like 50 mechs models. So this box is not gonna help a long-term player, really.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. Interesting shot, but it doesn't sound like it. Yeah, it's not going to be taken very seriously, and it is not going to help them. Especially if this flops, it's going to really really give them trouble just going back to their main line and their main game and trying to get people to support it.
Mm-hmm. So did they not see the CMON news stories, about like losing so much money and missing their targets? And
the
latest CMON news story, they said that they were late on their financial reporting, and they said it's because they didn't have the staff to complete it or something. I was like, oh my
Oh,
god,
geez. Yeah.
that's pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we really don't have any idea of how slim and bare bones some of these, companies run these things, like their project management teams and stuff are pretty tiny. And what we see when we see the final product, we imagine, quite an army must have manufactured, must have been involved in this. But yeah, it's very surprising.
I think Miguel's ears must have been burning. He just joined the chat.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so Miguel, we got to get your take on the the BattleTech Gothic. Is it the next big thing? And already kind of saying it's a one-off. It's a one-off is already like maybe anybody that would want to get into this is it's already telling them, yeah, there's not going to be a lot of support for it. So you're going to have to support it. You're going to have to modify. You're going to have to kit bash your models to make this work and stat them out and whatever.
Miguel, tell us in the chat, are you going to be the first backer of BattleTech Gothic?
Yeah, it's a very odd release, but it did get everybody talking. There were like emergency videos on every YouTube channel and everything, watching the video, reacting, talking about what this is, what this means. So, yeah, and sure, I mean, if Catalyst Game Labs is that confident that they had securely hold the fan base that they can now play around with this IP, okay, go for it. But that might be a little bit of overconfidence.
It's too much. 2 years from now, it'll be BattleTech After Dark or something.
Yeah, I don't know, but we'll get some grimdark fiction out of it anyhow. All right. Well, on to our next problem. Look, we can come back. Our next problem that a solution that doesn't have a problem. Kings of War Champions. So Mantic announced, they teased it, and now they finally have showed. This is the launch of their new fantasy rank and flank game. So Kings of War Champions. So Mantic Games said, yeah, they're fantasy 28 millimeter rank and flank game set in their world of Panathor, which is their take on the fantasy setting. And the intention of this game is for it to be a quick and easy entry point into this style of gaming. So, and each game is intended to be played in an hour. It's a fixed list, so you're not list building. You're given a hero and some supporting units, and so this hero-led kind of supposed to be more flavorful in its in what the your army is looking like. It'll be all pre-decided for you. And so the thing that they had previously, their kind of points, their low points, lightweight to play Kings of War was called Ambush, and that was just you were still list building, but you were using a very small model count, and you were just trying to play an introductory game, similar to I think what they call Spearhead. I'm not sure if that's Age of Sigmar or 40K, but yeah, Spearhead is the Games Workshop version of tiny, just one box of miniatures to play. But it doesn't, give you the full experience. So they're trying to do that with this new Champions. So their two-player starter set for this is called Faith and Fury, and it's like, again, it's two factions. It's like a demon faction and then the human faction, and they're okay, but it seems like Mantic has always had the trouble of when they do starter boxes of pairing up two factions that, I think in the lore maybe they're opposed to each other, or it's interesting in their lore, but for players, it's always one army you could play and one army no one wants to play. It's always like they're including like this extra factions, like and fishmen, okay, whatever. So it's always they have a little trouble balancing that. So this box is the Basilians, led by Alanis Saltius Company, and the Bloody Cardinal Company, led by the Bloody Cardinal. Yes, you guessed it. So, it's the kind of faithful humans versus the evil evil demons. The retail on the box, so you're getting quite a few miniatures, but 41 miniatures, but it is Mantic. They're plastic. They're not amazing plastic. They're closer to Board Game than they are, Games Workshop. But I think they've improved. I mean, I'm talking, my experience has been, a lot of older Mantic stuff. So maybe they have improved, what's going on. And everything's going to include stat cards, so you don't have to keep track of anything. Tokens and 2D terrain included in the box. So nothing 3D, but it's going to retail for US about $113 US, 87 pounds 50 UK price. So it's an okay entry point. It's the price of maybe one, starter box, like a Spearhead kind of thing for other systems. But yeah, so, and they already have released they're going to do all of their major factions for their fantasy. So they're going to get Northern Alliance and the Twilight Kin and the Goblins and some other, the Void Talon, some other evil abominations. But so then that made them answer the question, well, what about the ambush rules in Kings of War? Wasn't that what that was intended to be the entry point for this game? And they said that's their low cost version, or low points cost version. But you're still making your own lists. And this was kind of made to be playable and balanced and the most fun, because you're kind of centering it around a hero character. So basically, Champions is the gateway. You move up to Ambush, and then you can graduate to full Kings of War to get the full game experience. But and then they're also, so along with the supporting factions, they're also going to offer deluxe 3D terrain. And sorry about that. And and my touch screen is on, so I touched the screen. You can also just buy, if you already have a bunch of models for Kings of War, you can get a gaming mat, rulebook, and tokens separately if you don't need any miniatures. So yeah, the comments under this were a lot of, I literally have no opinion on this. And their starter boxes never have the right thing. This isn't really a solution. It's just it's looking for a problem. And then somebody went down through a list of other games by other companies that have already, on a kind of a skirmish level, they still have it's rank and flank, but it's a kind of a skirmish level. There's already several games that are doing this, including the Game of Thrones, Last Argument, Conquest, Last Argument of Kings by Parabellum. There's a ton of that stuff that would be also competing with this at that, kind of price point to enter. So I don't know. I keep hoping for Mantic to kind of stabilize their position a little bit as the bargain the bargain Games Workshop. But I don't know, they're thinking, is this something, is this an answer to something? Because are they actually worried about the old world, because they're doing releases for the Games Workshop is doing releases for the old world Warhammer stuff, so there's new fantasy models coming out. Is this their way to look very inexpensive? Because literally this 2-player set is probably the price of one new like larger model for old world. Those are some pricey miniatures.
And I'm looking at the pictures, and the demon faction actually looks pretty good. I'm looking at the Bloody Cardinal. It's a pretty good looking model. There's these Bloodletter wannabe guys. They look pretty good. And then the snake guy is okay.
Right.
But then you get to the humans. They don't look that. They're like 2-3 notches in detail below Games Workshop. Like they look more like the old like Advanced Hero Quest or something like that. Like they're just not there.
I can't figure out what Mantic, like, they need to like not do this middle of the road kind of thing where it's just kind of okay, and the human factions are kind of okay, because they look like they even look like a discount Warcraft. It's like not even discount Warhammer.
Oh yeah, well that doesn't help that they chose that silver and blue color scheme.
Right.
That's so Warcraft is ridiculous.
Yeah, so they should really go like, this is the cheapest game. It costs nothing to play this, or this is an alternative. We're doing what they don't do. Like, we have dwarves in space, and like they were trying to take advantage of some of the holes in the factions and stuff in at Games Workshop. Now there aren't really many holes left, and they haven't really differentiated themselves to like, oh my God, this is a really cheap way to play this, and it's a very similar or better experience in some opinions. But I don't know, or they should just talk about, we're not changing our damn rules all the time, so we're not obsoleting your models and making you buy new miniatures. They should really go after the big flaws in the Warhammer games. Yeah,
they should do what Games Workshop doesn't do.
Yeah. And I think they do, but they're kind of doing it too quietly. Like, nobody knows. Like,
yeah. They should lead with it. They should.
Right.
Yeah. Is this? I'm looking at the one picture that has all the components on a mat. Does that mat? Is that part of the set?
It might be, but it's probably paper. But yeah, I think there is probably in this set.
Just from a wargaming perspective, they have a unit of cavalry that is at least a third of the width of this map. And it's like, okay, cavalry needs to maneuver. And
right.
Why do you even put cavalry in this set? Like, anyway.
Yeah, that is the problem when you reduce point sizes for games. Is you do, like, there's certain rules you can't use. There's certain strategies and things, like you're saying. If you're playing on a smaller board, fewer units, the experience is very different. And the game is 1 hour, but might not be as satisfying. The dynamics between the two sides might not be that satisfying. It may be very simplistic and very you might feel like the dice are just deciding everything. There's not really any skill involved. I think that's the problem with the low points games. And so to say, oh, here, this is what this game is like, is not very true, because Kings of War really can get big and really expands. And the nice thing is it's fixed base sizes, so you're not pulling models off. You're just like keeping track of wounds with a die or tokens. And so you're free to build these bases however you want, because it's not just it can be a little bit more artistic, or you don't have to actually have if there's supposed to be 24 models or whatever on the bases, 25, you can work with what you've got, and it still represents that number of units. So that's the freedom and the kind of difference between this game, and they just don't. Yeah, I don't think they emphasize that enough. And so you could definitely do Kings of War on the cheap, especially now with 3D printing. If you like that rule set, it's definitely a very playable game, and it's really easy to get into. So I don't think, and especially they have their archive, like Mantic has their thing, their digital delivery. So they should almost do an introductory game, print to play, in both the book, the rules, the cards, and the miniatures. That might be a nice thing. Get people subscribing, just to get that.
Yeah.
But but they love producing miniatures, I guess. That's the thing. Yeah. So and these will be a mix. There'll be some older models in there, but of course these heroes are new sculpts and original models. But all their good guys are so kind of derpy looking.
They all look like they're old models.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that. All right, so here we go. Our next miniatures game. Sorry, there's no TTRPG to be found this week. Our next miniatures game that we got an announcement for is StarCraft. So Terran, Zerg, or Protoss, you can choose. And so of course StarCraft is the classic real-time strategy game that created esports in Korea, basically. Originally created by Blizzard Entertainment. The Polish game publisher and plastics manufacturer Archon Studios has now gotten the license and plan to release their initial game in 2026. So we're looking at next year. And they're talking about, I guess, a series of what they're calling board games. So they might be like, everything included kind of things. And they'll follow up the 2027, the next year. They're doing a live stream on April 3rd. So just in a few days, they're going to do a live stream to kind of announce this and give you all the details and probably show off some sculpts. April 3rd, probably on their YouTube or Twitch. They didn't specify. So originally released in 1998, StarCraft is the the eternal war, the unending battle in the far future between the gritty Terran military, the high-tech Protoss, and the hordes of Zerg. And no, it's definitely not 40K. It's totally different. But yeah, it's been a popular game for a while. You can still play both of these games on the Xbox Game Pass or PC. They're just like sitting there because Microsoft owns Blizzard. So yeah, that's an interesting situation. So Archon Studios, they first started doing tabletop stuff 2019. I think originally they were just producing like kind of boutique miniatures and stuff. And they did a successful campaign for some plastic terrain for tabletop. And they also did their Dungeons and Lasers campaign, which was a like kind of higher end, I think lit, like LED lit terrain and stuff. But they've been pretty successful for a UK company. And then they've also been releasing games. They did a Wolfenstein game and they did a Master of Orion ad Astra game. And the thing that I'm not sure if this is going to include, if this StarCraft game is going to include, but they have been working on the thing that people are talking about Archon Studios for, pre-painted plastic models on sprues. Called Prismacast. So Prismacast, yes, you get kits on sprues that are already colored. So it's nothing on the market exists like this right now. So if they can pull this off, they could change things, I think, pretty big for wargaming. So yeah, nothing revealed about the scale of this game or anything. The live stream should cover all that. And if they are going to use this IP to promote Prismacast, that could be pretty intense. Because if those games, the models are on sprues, pre-colored, all you have to do is put them together. That could be a very different product from anything else we've seen.
Are they saying they're fully painted? Because I'm looking at the 3 minis that they have shown. Mm-hmm. The sculpts look pretty nice, although they might be board game-ish. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the detail's nice. But they have a weird prismatic sheen on them.
Oh, might be.
So I'm thinking it may not be a full paint job. It might just be
like a finish,
like a weird prismatic. What do you call that? What do they call that other thing? Sun drop or something?
Yeah,
like that?
Yeah. I think it's
it might be like that, but with more of a prismatic look to it.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so it's not going to be fully detailed like printed.
Well, I'm just looking at the 3 minis they've shown.
Right.
I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, so we will see if they can, come up with something a little bit original. Yeah, so for you, so I guess I wanted to ask you this question when we were talking about the Kings of War product as well. What is do you think is the biggest obstacle to wargaming, like a larger scale, not just like a small skirmish, like 10 models, but a larger scale war game? What's the biggest obstacle to you? The learning curve of the rules, the hobby aspect of it, what is the thing that would keep you from
the cost and the time investment of painting them? Well, you said hobby. It's a whole nother thing when you decide to get into a big miniature war game that you're going to be responsible for painting all those miniatures. That's like 2 things in one, right? It's like a hobby, and then you play a game with the product you made in your hobby.
Right.
I mean, I'm still looking at my Zone Wars miniatures, and I haven't finished them.
Oh, yeah.
There's only 12 of them or something. And
right.
You talking about playing a game where you're painting what, 50, 100 miniatures? Oh my God.
Right, right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the time. Yeah, for some games, the money, but yeah, definitely the time to get them. And yeah, when they come on a sprue, I think that's the biggest thing. Unless you really enjoy model building, yeah, you're just not going to get there. And it's funny that I've read so many people that are really talented miniature painters. They don't play any games. They just paint models. Like they just enjoy the hobby, and there's no game involved. Like they don't put them on the table. They put them on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it is a completely different thing. So I'm wondering, because they've a lot of companies have experimented with pre-painted, and even like the Whiz Kids, they do their kind of crappy pre-painted stuff. So does pre-painting take enough away from the hobby that it's only expense and then rules, like learning rule systems? Or yeah, I don't know. So we'll see if anybody will crack that. And you can do nice pre-painted models. Some companies have done that, but they're so expensive that unless you have a wildly popular game, there's no way you can sustain that business model, just because your costs are very high. And they're probably even worse now.
Interesting that it's a Polish company.
Mhm.
40K is ginormous in Poland.
Mm.
Well, all Warhammer really is
Right,
huge in
right.
Poland.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting, and maybe that's why they started out basically doing terrain for 40K. That was the
Mhm.
company's first moneymaker. Yeah. So and I remember Chris talking about there was a previous StarCraft board game that was really good. That was like very playable and actually like recreated the real time strategy aspects and everything really well. So I wonder if they know about that, and if they're going to be inspired and influenced by that, or if they're just kind of starting from scratch. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But my thought, as soon as I saw this, oh wow, StarCraft miniatures game. So Microsoft is probably one of the few companies in the world that could eat Games Workshop's lunch. Like they could literally, not only buy them, but they could outmarket them, they could outproduce them so easily. And if maybe the American market, maybe the Korean and American markets might go for StarCraft a lot more than Europe or some some other places. But yeah, StarCraft could be the only like genuine 40K competitor that could they could flesh out their lore, they could do amazing miniatures, and they could really run with it. And there's it's one of those things that would be so frustrating for Games Workshop to compete against it, because it is their IP. It's their exact IP, but it's legally distinct, distinct enough that it exists. It was something that Microsoft actually bought. But that would be pretty funny to if they ever figured that out, because as Games Workshop keeps growing and keeps being more successful, that does make people wonder, hey, how can we get in on that? Or is there a way to get in on that? And Microsoft could do it. That's all they do anyhow, is just buy their way into markets. That would be pretty funny.
Until Amazon buys Games Workshop, and then watch out, Microsoft.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, their relationship is going to be cozy after a successful movie or streaming series. All right. And finally, our last wargaming news. I promise, I swear. So I want to thank Patrick for this. I got a heads up about this announcement from Patrick. And Patrick also said that he's headed to Adepticon this year. So I'll talk to him about what he saw and what the stink was, like how big of a buzz the Battlefield BattleTech Gothic got, how much attention or how much hate people are burning their booth down, or what. But yeah, thanks Patrick for this. And this is about the Monster Apocalypse update. So Privateer Press posted on their site a long overdue update about the status of Monster Apocalypse, and this is one of the games that was bought by Steamforged. So Privateer Press now, Steamforged Games is producing all of their War Machine and Hordes, all of their stuff, their Iron Kingdoms stuff. So they have bought the rights to Mythic's failed Kickstarter for Monster Apocalypse, and it's been kind of silence about what how are the backers of this failed Kickstarter going to get their models, what's going on. And this is going to, Privateer Press is saying this is kind of what their approach is going to be. So getting up and running with this, the miniature and the game components will continue to be available to the players. And because the players that got burnt from the Kickstarter, and how they're going to do this. Currently, their manufacturing is 100% capacity for War Machine, so they cannot physically produce these models for Monster Apocalypse, even though they have them. So they're going to move the catalog of miniatures to an on-demand 3D printing service, and also sell the STLs. So anybody that pledged on the crowdfunding is going to have access to this, and then it's probably going to be available kind of in a retail situation. So you can print the STLs at home or order pre-printed 3D miniatures, but this migration process is going to take a while. So to basically create an online store and access to all of the models that were produced for this game is going to be a while. So as they said, the next few months, hopefully everything available by this summer. So anybody that was screwed over the unfulfilled Kickstarter will have access to all of this. It's basically thousands of backers that they're doing this for. So they have the license now. So Monster Apocalypse was licensed to Mythic as an independent publisher. So Privateer Press, of course, wasn't involved in the Kickstarter. So what they're going to do is hopefully support the community, like provide what was initially promised in some form, and make it available, and try to inspire growth of this player community by their digital offerings. They'll provide the STLs. All the backers will be semi-satisfied. They're not going to get a retail product, but they'll be able to have access to what they paid for. And they're currently also working to, they have the 3D files, and they need to build pre-supported versions to make it easier. Anybody that has less experience in 3D printing, pre-supported models save you a lot of time, because you don't have to build that all yourself and check it and make sure everything's going to come out okay. It's been already built and tested. So that again, is going to be part of why things are so slow. There's also going to be a PDF repository of the printable cards and map files, so all the backers will have access to all of that. So what this sounds like is very similar to Steamforged Games' treatment of Guild Ball. So Guild Ball was a product that they promoted, kind of their competitor with Blood Bowl, and they kind of backed away from it. They're still going to support it. You can buy 3D models and buy everything digitally to keep supporting the game. But they're not going to have direct manufacturing of this product anymore. And they said, please be sympathetic. And we were talking about this before. The operations are smaller than they may appear. This translation from the Kickstarter to a digital store is a one-person show. There's a single person at Privateer Press that is working on this. They're dedicated to doing this. Everybody else is working on War Machine and Iron Kingdoms. So I got one guy doing this. So it's going to take a while. And so they're hoping by this summer. And so going forward, this is their second step. The first step was how people are going to get their stuff. Going forward, so Monster Apocalypse is a 7-year-old. The current edition is a 7-year-old game. They're hoping to add miniatures to the miniature range, but they don't anticipate creating new content for the miniatures board, for the miniature board game or the miniatures game. They're going to there were exclusives and things that were produced for the Kickstarter that they're going to release as offered as print on demand or STLs. And this is the odd thing, I guess. They have the license, so why not try to make some money with it? I suppose they are going to release do a Kickstarter, a crowdfund campaign for Monster Apocalypsonomicon. So a basically monster manual for the Monster Apocalypse Kaiju for 5e. So yeah, let's make some money with the giant monsters setting that we bought. So that's going to be the only new product you're going to see from them supporting this, apart from the digital assets becoming available. They are looking at 2 different projects that will be kind of variants on the existing miniatures game. It's not going to be a huge production, but it may be enough to support like a different way to play or something to keep the kind of the player base interested and something fresh to look at. But so they'll make announcements on their Facebook page, and this is all Privateer Press. So it'll be happening slowly. So be patient, and you will have access to something. Your money wasn't totally wasted. And they end the post by saying, "We're thankful for your continued support and enthusiasm, and look forward to smashing cities with you in as many different ways as possible in the years ahead." So that's where people stand with this. And I think we talked about the kind of the collapse of Mythic games and who got what. Like some people tried to save certain projects, and so Privateer Press and Steamforged Games are dealing with Monster Apocalypse. So there's a lot of we hear a lot of these, a lot of these stories, and so this is similar to what the Fantasy Miniatures company that was doing the Black Label. Yeah, they fell apart on their second set of fantasy miniatures, and another miniatures company picked that up, and they're going to try to produce it maybe as another crowdfunder and give a big discount to previous backers, or they'll make things digitally available. So this seems to be the thing. If it totally collapses and you're not going to actually send it to a factory to get made, they're going to try to offer digital. So how would you feel? Would you be happy with like a 3D printed game if you had already backed it for like, $100 or whatever?
Well, since I don't have a 3D printer, no. But
right. No, but if they were offering like you could get the pre-printed, like they would have an on-demand print shop.
Oh yeah. No, that'd be fine. I was looking at the minis and the on their website, and the style is kind of lighthearted, so it's not like you're going to need a bunch of crazy detail or anything. The minis look kind of cool.
Yeah,
it looks fun. Like of all these topics today,
yes,
this is the one where I'm like, I hope it works out for them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny that Privateer Press, like they're just honest about it. It's like, listen, we're at 100% capacity. You're not going to see anything new from us or Steamforged. This is all we're doing right now is War Machine. And because the rules are free, the list builder and the rules are free for War Machine. So I keep looking back at it. I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's kind of fun. Yeah. Because it was a legitimate competitor once upon a time, just like, Paizo, Pathfinder was competing with 4E. War Machine was competing with Warhammer pretty easily, and especially in Japan, it was very divided between War Machine and Warhammer. Not anymore, but so that's a state of Monster Apocalypse. So if you backed that, that's what's going on, and it's nice that they're being open about it and their limitations and what they're doing. It did take them a while to kind of post this update, but so we'll see. And we might just see a lot more of this. I wonder if, because as tariffs and materials costs and production keeps going up, it should be because that was one of the things that we're talking about with the Infinity group, is the cost of the white metal is going up. So it's getting more expensive to produce the old school metal miniatures. So that's making some companies like look again at Siocast or some of the other, 3D printing and into those sorts of alternatives, because, the materials costs are just going up. We'll see what what that does to our poor miniatures games.
Yeah, like I just have this vision of a bunch of mid-level GW managers at the pub in Nottingham, and someone pulls out their phone and starts passing around the teaser videos for BattleTech Gothic, Kings of War, Champions, and then the StarCraft Wargame, and they just all drinking beer and giggling.
Yeah. I mean, Games Workshop is now, in investment in retirement portfolio, pension portfolios in the UK and stuff now. So yeah, they're pretty much established. It's going to take a real big fish to take to slow them down.
Yeah. there's a big stock trading app here called Public.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked on there to see if you could buy Games Workshop shares, and you can't. Because it's listed on the London Stock Exchange.
Right.
And for legal reason X, they only do stuff listed on the New York Stock Exchange.
Right.
So I would have to go out of my way if I wanted to invest in them. But
right. Yeah, deal with some overseas broker or something.
I just thought it might be kind of fun to buy one share of Games Workshop before any Amazon series hit.
Yeah. Right.
And see what happens after.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're really with this release of Space Marine 2 and all of the licensing they're doing for products. Like I'm getting spam all the time for bathrobes and knit caps and coffee mugs and all of this 40K merchandise and stuff. They're really going crazy licensing that stuff out. So there's a lot of companies just plugging that stuff. So, and it could only get worse. Because they're already doing, I think they have a deal with Joy Toy to do action figures, a couple of different sizes, I think a 4-inch and maybe a 7-inch or something. Of specific models from 40K, and those things are $100 a piece. They're really, really pricey. So yeah, I'm not sure what what this feature is, but they sure are. They're really going crazy with the license, and I think they've got so many people wrapped up in competitive play for 40K that they're on this treadmill of insane investment for new model releases and stuff. So yeah, it's nuts. It's probably close to the fanaticism of Magic the Gathering, players, that they gotta buy the multiple boxes of the next set. That's the next set release that comes out 4 times a year. That kind of financial investment.
Yeah.
So we'll see. No talking them off that ledge.
So next week's going to be the all role play episode, right?
I hope so. Yeah, we gotta step away from minis on a table.
Oh, I'll save it for the after chat. But
okay,
we got to talk about Puerto Rico. We got to talk about it.
All right. Yeah, because it just launched, but we got the Alien revised version to talk about. They're not calling it a second edition, so yeah. We'll talk about that next week. So that's tabletop related, right?
There you go.
All right. So that's going to do it for this week. So thank you, Matt, for co-hosting. And where can people find you?
I am on the Instagram and Blue Sky, which are apparently skeets, I'm being told in the chat. When you message on Blue Sky, it's a skeet. That's really dumb.
Skeet.
Because Sky. I get it now. I get it now. Oh. It's at Hargald, HAARGALD. Talk mostly games, but I do talk about the impending end of the world sometimes. So
nice.
If you can tolerate that, feel free to say hi. How about you?
So I've got a single panel gag cartoon that I'm drawing. I just had my live stream for last month's. Or for March, for March. So I finished off March, did a couple of weeks of April for abuse cartoons on YouTube and Twitch. It shows up on this channel as well, so don't be too confused if you click on a live stream and you see someone drawing food and boxes. But you can read this comic at gocomics.com/domestic abuse, and so that's what I draw the comic and just it's just a long hang because I'm doing a couple, half a dozen cartoons or so. So 2 to 4 hours somewhere in between there, and eat some snacks from the Japanese convenience store that are new and exciting and sometimes delicious. And yes, but if you like what we're doing here on the channel with the weekly on Upturned Table, consider becoming a weekling. You can do that at patreon.com/upturned table, and that'll let us know what you'd like to see more of, and you can send us some some news items and tips like Patrick did about the Monster Apocalypse update. And yeah, just let us know what you want to talk about. And either becoming a patron or a YouTube member will also give you access to the Discord, which you can chat with everybody in there. Basically, everybody in this chat is in there as well. And yeah, kind of talk about what was on the show and what you'd like to see more of, and just everything that's going on tabletop. So it's Upturned Table on all social media. We do live streams on YouTube and Twitch, and also Facebook and wherever else we can so we can get a server. And we will be playing our second session, a kind of full session of Fallout. So the 2D 20 Modifius RPG Fallout with our characters we built from last week. So I'll put a link to the first session. You can kind of hear the very quiet and slow character building process, a little bit of our first scene adventure, and things should get nice and crazy this week. So thanks for joining us, and we'll be back again soon.
Bye.
Goodbye.